All right. If anyone's new to the channel or discovering our channel late, I always like to sometimes give a quick summary as to how we got here and what we're doing. So, I'll start with, I lost my wife about 17 months ago. My wife, Jen, was diagnosed with stage 3 non-smoking lung cancer. When she was diagnosed, she was 34, I want to say. It's all coming as a blur now. She passed away in November of 2023. And I've been, she decided to document her journey through cancer, through treatment, through the diagnosis, through when we found the terminal news out, through everything. And then she asked me to continue filming the grief process and life after loss and everything like that. So I did, soon after my wife passed, I did enroll in a grief support group. It's called Grief Share. It's nationwide, and it's kind of one of the first things that show up when you Google grief support groups. And I think that can kind of give it a bad reputation, like, oh, it's kind of run of the mill, it's standard, it's everyone does it. That, that kind of type of thing. It's not unique. It doesn't really help. I don't know if that makes sense, but and I tried it. I signed up about a month after Jenny passed, my wife, and I couldn't do it. It was too emotional. It was too, my mind and my body and my spirit were just not ready yet. In grief, you have to be ready for what you're partaking in, or else you're not truly in it and you're not learning from it. There's no timeline. You don't have to do it right after you lose the person. You don't have to do it a certain months after. Just for me, a couple months after she passed was just too soon. I wasn't ready to be around all of that pain, and I wasn't ready to talk about it as much as I thought I was. Also, YouTube has been a way to express myself and to share my grief and to learn from my grief. So there's that. I also did individual counseling. Where am I getting at with this? If you're new to the channel, or if you are looking for grief support, I can't offer you professional grief support, but what I can do is I can share with you what I've learned, what I'm currently learning, and then pass that along to you guys and see if you had similar experiences, or if you're feeling the same way, or if you felt the same way in the past and now you don't, or if you have questions, I can share what I've gone through. And what I wanted to do, I thought about this in week 1. Every week in Grief Share, you get a name tag, even though by the end, you know everybody's name. I was in a group with anywhere from, some days it was 6, some days it was 10, some days it was all the way up to, I think, like 12, 13 men at any given time. We were separated into different categories. Our group was primarily men who had lost their spouses. There was a few people who had lost fathers, mothers, brothers, things like that. But primarily we were men who lost their spouses. And in this group, we were able to just talk. One, you follow the program, right? So they give you a lesson, you have homework, and you have a video, and you talk about that. The other part of it is just talking with these other people who are experiencing what you're experiencing. And we found ourselves constantly saying things like, wow, I feel less crazy now because you do the things I do and you have the same thoughts I have. And now I understand why we're doing the things we do. So it's very comforting. It's very validating. And while you're navigating grief, you get to navigate grief with other people and not be alone, which is important in grief, I think, my opinion. But one thing I wanted to do is, after the first week, I took off the name tag, I put it on my book, and I wrote a word down, kind of my summary of that particular week out of the 13. And what I wanted to do is I did that every week of my grief share. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then there's a couple on the inside. I kind of wanted to go through each one, at least the ones that I have. I don't think I have all of them because I missed 1 week because of my grandpa's passing, and then I missed another week because of my grandpa going into the hospital. So I'm short on at least 2, but I at least wanted to share with you guys what I have, because when I was writing these down, I thought, oh, this would be a good video topic to kind of let people know what grief counseling can look like for you, what they kind of focus on, and what I took from it each week as you go through. So the first lesson in the first week that I took away was I felt understood. If you're in grief and you're feeling alone and you're feeling lost and you're feeling just kind of just broken and the world around you is going on, but you're not, it was nice to go to this group and finally feel understood by people going through the same thing. Although it's hard to be surrounded by other people in grief, it's also very validating and very nice to be around other people who are going through the exact same emotions, exact same anger, fear, sadness, depression, darkness, feeling of being lost. And then when you're across the table from another person and you say, hey, me too, it really starts to feel a little less crazy. You feel a little more normal for all the things you're going through. So the first week I wrote down is understood. So you might be thinking about joining a group like this or a support group, and you're nervous and you're worried and you don't know if you can handle it. At least for me, what I felt after the first week was understood, and that was the most important thing to me. It wasn't so much about the lesson, it was just more so, here's a group of people that are going through what I'm going through and we can connect. So understood was number 1. Number two down here, I wrote hopeful. And I can specifically remember why I wrote these things down. Having hope that it will not always be as difficult as it is in your current season of life. And that's really hard to see past when you're in the deep box of grief. I still feel that way, and I still have this immense feeling of pain and loneliness and sadness that my wife is no longer here, but I'm more so hopeful that the future will be better, the future will be brighter. I'm hopeful that this dark hole will start to get less and less, which it has. 17 months out, it has. So I remember feeling like not all hope is lost, that there is hope for the future, that it will get better. Okay, so hopeful was a big word, a big feeling. Rather than feeling like, it's all doom and gloom, it feels a little bit like there's hope. Number 3, I wrote down steady goes it. And that I remember is because week 3 is they tell you try to go to at least 3 sessions and try to make it through, because you have a higher likelihood of staying if you make it past 3. So what I wrote down is just keep going at it. There are times when it feels a little bit like this doesn't relate to me, or I don't feel that way, or I don't agree with the lesson that was going on, or it just feels taxing going every week and having to share. But steady goes it, meaning if you just stay with the program, stay with the counseling, stay with therapy, whatever you're doing, typically it tends to feel a little bit better. So keep at it, keep with it, don't give up. And if it feels like you can't handle it at this point in your life, then you don't have to go through with it. But that's about the time I dropped out the first time, and this time I kept going, and I'm so glad I did. Number 4, I wrote down self-care. You have to take care of yourself before you can heal. You have to sleep, and you have to eat properly, and you have to take care of your personal hygiene like you normally would. And it's really hard, especially for me. I lost my spouse, who was my motivator, who was my drive, who was my muse, who was my everything. And when you lose that person, you really don't feel like taking care of yourself, because why? Who's there to, why? There's no one to do that for, and there's no one to push you. I really thrived off of my wife's words and her dedication and her kindness, her spirit, And when that all disappears, it's like, I don't care if I sleep. I don't care if I eat properly. I don't care if I work out. I don't care what I look like. I don't care about my outfit. I don't care. You stop trying. And the same could go for if you lost a sister or a best friend or whatever. But for me, in losing my spouse, I didn't have that. She was my motivator. She was my everything. And so it just kind of became like, I'll wear whatever. I don't care if I get a haircut. Don't care if I shave. I'm not going to sleep today, whatever. It doesn't matter. But when you have your spouse, you want to do all those things for them. You want to constantly impress them. You want to do good by them. You want to, your motivation to live is much higher, at least for me. But then I realized you have to do those things. You have to start living for you, because that's what your person would want, the person that's gone. They wouldn't want you to crumble and be in a hole and give up on everything. And I have that specifically in writing and in video form that my wife told me to go and thrive and keep going through life. Don't sit in a hole and rot, because that's not doing them proud. So easier said than done, but I made sure to write down that it's important to take care of yourself, even in the moments when you feel like you can't, and even in the moments when you feel like you don't want to. Keep taking care of yourself. 5, I wrote down journey. Hey, not right now, babes. Not right now. Thank you. Okay, number 5, I wrote down journey. From what I can remember, the reason I wrote that down is because grief is a journey. You have the ups, you have the downs, you have the steady, you have the really lows, the really highs. I haven't experienced a really high yet, but I've experienced very low lows, very steady lows, steady above. And what's important is understanding that grief is a journey. It is going to continue to surprise you. It's going to continue to throw you curveballs. It's going to continue to hit you when you're down. And some days it's gonna bring you a beautiful moment that you never would have expected. But it's absolutely a journey, and when you accept that, it gets a little bit better. Understanding that it doesn't take X amount of months to start feeling better. It doesn't take X amount of months for you to get over the anger. It doesn't take X amount of months for you to get out of your deep, dark depression or sadness. It's a journey. And you're going to have days where you're out of it, and you're going to have days where you are in it. And the more that you accept that this will be a briefcase that you carry with you forever, the better you'll do. And the best thing I can compare it to is, now with grief is you're always going to have a briefcase, right? And some days it is going to feel so stinking heavy. You're going to barely be able to lift it. You're going to barely be able to get anywhere with it. And you're going to wish you didn't have it. And some days it's going to be so light, you forget it's even there. And that's not forgetting your person. That's not forgetting the love. That's not forgetting how amazing and important they were. What it is, you're learning that it's a part of you, and it just kind of becomes a light load to carry. And then some days you're like, man, it's been 4 or 5 days where this has been a really light briefcase, and then bam, something reminds you, or something triggers it, or something happens, and you're carrying a sack of bricks again. And you just got to be ready for those days, and don't feel like a failure when those days come. And days may turn into weeks, weeks may turn into months. Months can unfortunately even turn into years, but take your little victories where they are. Journey. 6, I wrote down fatigue, tired. I specifically remember week 6 feeling like I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to do it. You're almost halfway through the program, you're kind of over it, tired. And you're just tired in life. You're tired of constantly surviving, constantly crying and being upset and questioning and wondering, and you're just tired. You're tired of it all. And it kind of feels like no matter how much you do, you're going to always be deep in this hole of fatigue. But like with everything else, the fatigue does subside. It really does. I can remember days where I felt like my entire brain and my entire body was dedicated to grief. And now, not so much. Now days are more filled with baseball and practice and going to dance class and going to work. And I'm having more work stresses than I am grief stresses, and more parenting stresses than grief stresses. So it starts to even out. It really does. But acknowledge how tired you are. And when you are, say to yourself that today I'm not going to be much help to anybody, and that's okay. I've said that to friends, family, coworkers. Today is just not my day. Please excuse what you see today. It's not me. It's my grief. It's my fatigue. It's my sadness. And I'm going to need to pick me up today, whatever that is. If that's extra help on this report, if that's someone watching my kids for 2 hours, if that's self-care time, if that's going to bed extra early, whatever it is, figure out what your thing is and do it. But it's okay to feel tired. Number 7. Oh, this is a good one. The quote of the day of 7 was shoulding all over yourself. Shoulding. And of course that's a play on words. You can kind of guess what we're saying there. Shoulding all over yourself. And basically it's when you go back in your grief and you think about the person that you lost, and you go back to when they were still here, and you think of all the should-haves. And I should have done this more, and I should have asked more questions, and I should have given more attention here, and I should have talked to the doctors more there, and I should have. And then you kind of create this horrible space for yourself, this horrible hole, because you're just constantly wanting to go back when you can't. You can't go back. You can't change anything. So you're just I should, and it becomes this kind of disease of thinking of all these things that you wish you could have done, but you can't now. So it doesn't move you forward in any way. It just kind of sets you back. So you can acknowledge those feelings. I wish I would have, I should have, and then move forward and saying, but here I am. Here's what I'm going to do going forward. Number 8 was everybody grieves differently. It's a big one. Understanding that everybody had a different relationship to the person that's gone now. My kids lost their mom. I lost my wife. Her friends lost their best friend. Her sister lost her best friend and sister. Her parents lost a child. And it's hard to say that. It makes me emotional. But we all lost someone different to us. We all lost Jen. And then everyone in this YouTube community, they lost someone who they loved and they admired and they looked up to. Other people battling cancer lost a fellow warrior, lost a fellow person who's going through it with them. It's hard, but you have to understand that everyone grieves differently. There is no right or wrong way. There are things you do that can hurt you and they can hinder your growing, but you can't tell anyone to grieve fast or grieve slow or grieve in private or grieve in public or grieve through this or grieve through that, or they should do this in grief and they shouldn't do that. Heck no. You grieve in the way that you grieve. And if that's speaking about it, if that's being private about it, if that's writing it down, if that's praying, if that's spirituality, if that's whatever it is, find the way that you grieve and do it. Because everyone does it differently, and you can't judge or get mad or expect anything from anyone who's grieving because they're going through it too. So where therapy benefits you, maybe it doesn't benefit the other person. Where a grief support group benefits me, maybe it doesn't sound interesting to someone else. Let them grieve the way they're going to grieve. Number 9 is a really good one. You can never restructure the puzzle the way that it was. Our lesson that week was life with that person is never going to be that again. They're gone, right? So if you're constantly in grief trying to pick up the puzzle and put it exactly back the way that it was, you're never, ever going to get it there. And I found myself doing that after Jenny passed. I wanted to try to plan birthdays the way that she did and do surprises like she did and make cards like she did and reach out to people like she did and call people like she did. And you can't. You'll never get back to the way it was with them because that's what made them so special and so unique. You can take bits and pieces from it. You can do your best to play homage to them and do things similar to them and keep their spirit and their things alive, but you'll never be them My wife was a special, amazing, unique human, and I'll never be her. And I constantly found myself trying to be her in all these aspects of life, and it was hard to keep up. And now I've kind of made it a nice little mold of who I am, who she was and is, and how we kind of mold together. The next one is Unstuck, and they gave us this little car that's like a rollback racer, and they were like, I still have it. They said, picture that, and you know, if you're trying to wheel it and you haven't rolled it back, it's going to be stuck, but if you pull it back, it's going to fly. And pulling it back is, some days you're going to go backwards and then you'll shoot yourself forwards. Some days you'll go backwards and you'll go forward just a little bit. Some days you're going to be stuck. But how do you get unstuck? How do you get out of the mud when you're in the mud? And that's practicing the techniques that you learn through therapy, through grief support, through your religion, through friendships, companionships, other people that have gone through this, so on and so forth. So find what gets you unstuck and dive into that. And finally, because I'm missing a few, the last one is hope. Did I already share hope? I did. I had hopeful, but I guess the last one that I was present for, I said hope. This group gave me hope that it's going to be okay. You know, all the men and I in that group, at the end, we were all emotional because we really established a good friendship, a good partnership, and going through, it's hopeful that we're all going to be okay. We're all struggling. We all miss our wives. We all miss the love of our life, but we have to keep going. But we were hopeful. And coincidentally, I just got a group chat from the leader today. We're all in the group chat, and we're going to plan to meet up for coffee at some point. But group therapy may not be for you. A grief support group may not be for you, but I would definitely try it if you're thinking about it. It very much helped me. And it may not be the time when you first go, and you may need to try it over and over. I had a guy in the group who's done it 3 times. It all depends, but find it what works for you when you're grieving and do your best to fight through this. But those are the little lessons I learned, and I wanted to share them with you because I like learning, and it really did help me. And so I feel lucky and fortunate that I was able to find this group and so close to home with a bunch of great people who were kind and going through the same thing. So those are my lessons on grief for today. Again, those are my opinions. That's what I learned in my grief support group. You don't have to take any of it. It's not any expert advice. It's just my opinion on what I've learned. So take it or throw it away. But I wish you all luck in your grief journey if you're grieving, in your cancer journey if you're battling cancer, or just in your journey of life if you're a parent or just anything. I wish you the best. So I was gonna say drop a comment. And let me know which one resonated with you, which of those that I shared resonated with you. That might be a better thing to share. Maybe share that, which one of those lessons resonated with you. Okay? All right. See you guys in the next video, and stay well, okay?